Delighted to be here. Thank you to Macmillan for having me over. So the subject of my talk is from the stage to the classroom. As an actor, opera singer, and voiceover artist, I'm also a teacher, and I wanted to do this talk today to talk about how you can bring language learning to life using some of the skill sets that we performers have at our disposal. And hopefully this will help with your teaching and help you with your students as well. I have two goals today. My first one is to explain how teaching and performing are related, how they share common ancestors and therefore have a similar genetic code at the heart of them. And the second one, my second goal, is to provide you with fun exercises, and we'll hopefully have some guinea pigs to help us with those today. So provide you with some exercises coming from different types of art forms that can take your teaching to the next level. So this is my hope for today. We have a very little time, so let's get started. I talked about a common ancestor. What is the common ancestor between teaching and being an entertainer or a performer? For me, that root skill set is storytelling, all right? It's the branching point from an evolutionary standpoint between how teaching and performative arts emerge, all right? Historically, when we go back in time, the same person had the same function, had that function of both being the teacher and the entertainer, whether it was a village elder or something else, but they were teaching skills, so tool making, hunting, gathering, and so on, but they were also using entertainment as a way of transmitting their culture, their tradition, their religious beliefs, giving meaning to community as well. And even on a biological, we've now discovered that oxytocin gets released when we tell stories. It fosters social units by switching on genes that have to do with caregiving and bonding. So storytelling is at the root of everything we do, whether we're an actor or a teacher. So that's our genetic makeup. These are our ancestors. Now fast track 2,000 years from that point, and we meet up with this man, Peter Brook, who was a director and was observing thousands of years of art history, and for some reason, he felt that everything we had built was sort of missing the point, and he wanted to boil it down and distill it back to the essential. And all of his work was condensed into a book called The Empty Space, where he basically highlights the fact that theater is about a simple dynamic, the interaction between a performer and an audience in the context of a story that's being told, whatever that story might be. He used a very famous sentence at the beginning of his book, and I'd like to sort of represent it for you here, okay? He says, I can take an empty space and call it a bare stage. As soon as a person walks across that empty space while someone else is watching, the rules of theater, or what is needed for an act of theater to exist, is engaged, all right? So this dynamic of someone being looked at, going through a space, that's enough for the rules of engagement, for the rules of attention and connection to be engaged. So what does that mean for us as teachers? Well, turns out we have an audience, our students, and we have an empty space, whether it's a digital one or an in-person one. And so therefore, the laws that govern the relationship between the performer and the audience also apply to us as teachers, right? It's a same rapport that aims to create an engaging and a memorable experience, and therefore it applies. The same skill sets are necessary. When you look at a teacher, you're looking at not just the content that person is going to be delivering, but the way in which, and we'll come back to this how a little bit later, the way in which that teacher is delivering, the use of body language, the clarity of communication on a pronunciation level, on a syntactic level, on a semantic level as well. How we modulate our voices, use emotions, even improvise. We'll have a little improvising experiment a little bit later on. And finally, how we think about format. So these are the skills that teachers and performers have in common and should leverage. And so these are the ones we're going to be exploring today. The first one, what is the most important communicative channel that we have at our disposal, surprisingly enough, it's not the voice. A scientist called Albert Mehrabian in the 1970s told us that it's actually the body language, that nonverbal communication plays the most critical role in us processing and understanding emotion. 55% of the communicational bandwidth is attributed to body, right? And that's primarily on emotional landscapes or on topics or subjects that have to do with emotion. So therefore, the skill set of the dancer is important to us. Pina Bausch said, movements are born from contemporary life. So why don't we use elements of language and movements from contemporary life to experiment with gesture and develop our body language awareness? I'd now like to call on my friend Grzegorz and my friend Louise to join me on stage to do a little experiment. Hello, Louise. Hello, Grzegorz.
Hi.
All right. Are you guys ready to do a bit of dancing?
Okay,
Sure.
go first.
Fantastic.
Oh, my lord.
So, first of all, I'm going to provide you with a verb, an active verb, okay? Probably in the imperative form that is used in everyday life. I'll give you something similar to stand back, for example. Your job is going to be to find a simple gesture to match that and take that gesture further from the everyday mundane gesture that it is into a dance movement. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, Louise, you're in charge of lookout. Can you think of a gesture that leverages or that expresses, rather, lookout for you? I love that. That's very dramatic. I love it. Fantastic.
I was
All
going
right,
to make it
Grzegorz.
more dramatic, though.
It's very dramatic, and I love it. Now, Grzegorz, you're going to be in charge of move aside. Show me that gesture. What would that look like for you?
That's my slow one.
I want a dramatic one.
You want a dramatic
one.
one?
Yes. Oh, I love it. So there's going to be some swaying across the screen
yeah.
for the next 2 minutes. That's great. Now, I'm going to give you some music, and what I would like for you to see, for you guys to do, is to explore how you can move to that rhythm, having that action verb and the associated movement in the back of your mind as you do it. All right? All right, here's some music to inspire you, and here we go.
Makes my body dance for ya. Ooh, make it gotta get it. Ooh, make my body dance for ya. Ooh, make it gotta get it. Ooh, makes my body dance for ya. Ooh, make it
That's a lot of work.
gotta get it. Ooh, makes my body dance for ya.
Okay, come on. They deserve a round of applause. Come on, emojis, everyone. Let's leave some notes and comments. I thought both of you guys' dancing skills were amazing and beyond this world. I'm really, really impressed.
Dancing and chair swaying. I have to...
I had a job not to get up from my chair.
Yeah, there you go. And so
Moving
this
all
is
over
how
the
we can tie elements of language to the body by using simple action verbs and physicalizing them. And then eventually this can make its way into how your students and how you yourself as a teacher use your body when you teach. How you can feel confident to go a little bit further with your gestures to bring impact to whatever you're delivering. All right? Another big aspect of the performing arts is poetry and theater. We bring in language into the mix because this is partly what we're interested in as language teachers, right? We're always focused on the skills that we're teaching, the topics, the grammar, the elements of language we're planning on teaching. But a question that I would ask to all the teachers that are attending this seminar today is, how much time do you think about format? How much time do you allocate to the way in which you will deliver the content you're supposed to be delivering? Because us as performers, that's most of our time that's dedicated to the how rather than to the what. In a play, the play is just the text. It hasn't come to life yet until it is being delivered in an artistic way, until it's been staged, interpreted, and surrounded with sets, lighting, costumes, and makeup. So this is something I would like for you all as teachers to sort of start to think about. how much time am I dedicating to the format of what I deliver? And that, from a teacher standpoint, also ties into this idea of style and persona. How are you going to develop as a teacher that communicates in a way that's more effective? All right. And to develop this, I like to do a little improvisation exercise with you both, Louise and Grzegorz. You've already committed effectively to the dancing here, so I'm very excited to give you an exercise. Okay, it's called the shared story. You both will alternate, all right, in turn to tell the same story. When I, the moderator, says switch, we change the person that tells the story, and you're in charge of continuing the narrative. Now, what's important here is the listening skills and this ability to anticipate, to be completely tuned in so that we can react and add value to what's been said before, all right? So here's what your topic will be. Your topic will be, my cat literally ruined my New Year's Eve party. First she, and then someone speaks. I'm gonna ask Louise to start. When I say switch, it'll be Grzegor's turn. But until then, Louise, it's your story. All right? And off you go.
My cat literally ruined my New Year's Eve party. First, she leaped onto the table that I had set beautifully with all the best cutlery, wine glasses. I had bowls of fruit, and this
Switch.
And then she leaped right onto my Christmas tree, which of course collapsed, breaking all the beautiful glass decorations into tiny little pieces.
Switch.
and the Christmas tree came crashing to the ground, and I heard this scream from the cat.
Switch.
And then she went back onto the table and started licking at the different dishes that were there. And, you know, she started with the meats and then moved on to the pastries. And
Louise, you finish the story. Switch.
sorry.
And all I could
That's when it got
see
interesting.
were my guests standing round the table thinking, oh no, there goes our New Year's Eve dinner.
And that's the end of the story. Fantastic. Round of applause for our guinea pigs today again. You guys are crushing it today.
It's great.
So
fun.
this idea of continuing a story from where it has been started by someone else forces you to be completely tuned in and forces you to be adaptable. This is a skill that our students need in our conversations or in conversations they will have in real life, and also us as teachers to be really tuned in to what's occurring and what's happening in our classroom, in the tuition that we deliver. All right. So we've covered some art forms now, but now it's time to bring them in together. The total work of art. At the end of the 19th century, a very imposing artist called Richard Wagner decided to create a new art form that would bring all of the art forms together into one, where music, theater, singing, poetry, the visual arts, dance, all of them would contribute equally to what he would call a Gesamtkunstwerk, the total work of art. And in those total works of art, it is the story that is central, all right? I wanted, because I come from opera, to give you a sense of what Wagner's music sound like. So I will sing a little section of an opera called Die Walküre, and it's Sigmund's love song. Here we go. Winterstürme wischen dem Wonnemond, in mildem Lichtet leuchtet der Lenz, auf Lindenlüftchen, leis und lieblich, wunderwebend weht sich wild, Durch Wald und Auen weht sein Atem, weit geöffnet lacht sein Aug. Auf Silbervöglein Sonne süß ertönt, holde Düfte haucht er aus. Seinen warmen Blut entblühen wonnige Blumen, Keim und Spross entspringt seine Kraft. So this is just an excerpt of what Wagner's music sound like. But what you can see here is an attention to the poetry, is a complete insertion of melody with word. And when you go to an opera play or a Wagner opera, you see this immense integration of every single art form. And I would urge you and encourage you to discover his music. Now, the performing arts are faced with a very strange reality. For the last 40 years, we've seen opera, art forms, audiences dwindle and diminish. In the last 40 years, ballet and opera attendance have gone from 5% penetration through the general population to below 1%. And the theater and the classical music, which were very, very vibrant in the 1950s, 1960s, have also dwindled down, and especially during COVID. But there's something else that's been going up. And that's the internet and social media usage. And so to sort of try and leverage this tidal wave of shift towards the digital form, I suggest that you, as a teacher, also explore what can be done. There's a lot of methodologies that can fit a digital format, and I would urge you to explore that. And to finish, I would like to just show you a simple use case of a school here in the United States and what they've done to encourage their students to participate in music and also dedicate time and effort to their education. This is a song called Hot Cheetos and Takis that was produced by kids with the help of professionals as part of what's called the Beats and Rhymes after-school program in Minneapolis here in the United States. And what you will see here is a complete integration of singing, rhythm, dance, text, storytelling, all concentrated into one work of art. Is it a modern Gesamtkunstwerk? I think so. Let's have a quick listen to a section of Hot Cheetos and Takis.
Yo, I go by the name of Dane Jones. I'm with my crew, and we gon' show y'all what we be snacking on. You dig? Okay. Hot Cheetos and Takis. Hot Cheetos and Takis. I can't get enough of these Hot Cheetos and Takis. Got my fingers stained red, and I cannot get them on me. You can catch me in my crew eating Hot Cheetos and Takis. Pop. Snack, 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 crunch, snack, 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 munch. Hot Cheetos and Takis. Hot Cheetos and Takis. You can catch me in my crew eating Hot Cheetos and Takis. It's about a quarter.
All right. So this is an example of project-based learning that leverages music and art and theater and storytelling and rhythm and dance all in one, and that I would venture to say really encapsulate the essence of what we're trying to do as teachers, is to get kids or students involved in the material we're teaching. So I would urge you to start thinking about format more often and also embrace that digital change that we're witnessing now. So on that note, I'm at time. I would like to just thank you for your time, for listening to me. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn using this QR code.